just wanted to make a really quick video to talk a little bit about this week's grammar topic. The grammar topic for this week is subject-verb agreement, and although I'm fairly confident that this is something that you are familiar with, you might not be familiar with some of the terminology, and you might not quite know how to address some of the things that I'll be asking of you this week. So I wanted to just kind of give you a heads up, so to speak. Subject-verb agreement, of course, is rooted in the idea of subjects and verbs agreeing. We know what subjects are in sentences, right? Who or what a sentence is about. We also know what verbs are. Usually it's the action, but keep in mind there's more than one type of verb because we also have our state of being verbs, and then we also have our helping verbs. Okay, so a helping verb would be like is or am. That's not quite an action, but it is helping the action of the main verb, like Jamie is recording a video. And then we also have our linking verbs that are describing a noun such as this soup smells delicious. Of course, the soup doesn't have a nose, so there is no action, but it is connecting the adjective of delicious with the noun, which is soup. Now, I'm saying all that to say when we're looking at sentences and we're trying to determine whether or not our subjects and verbs agree, the most important thing is to make sure that you are able to correctly identify what the subject of a sentence is, right? And I know that me saying that seems really simplistic, but oftentimes we get lost in terms of understanding what subjects are or what the sentence is actually talking about. For example, if I were to say the box in the back corner of the room is full, right? Because I've thrown in lots of nouns that are in the prepositional phrases, such as in the back corner of the room, then someone, you might be mistakenly identifying the subject as either box or room, or as either corner or room, but the actual subject is box. So the box in the back corner of the room is full. Now, let's look at the example that's there on the PowerPoint just to kind of start our conversation about subject-verb agreement. If we look at this paragraph, obviously, when I read it, you'll hear that it pretty much sounds ridiculous. But Michael and Jennifer has been friends for a long time. At one point, their family thought that they was a couple. However, few people realizes that Jennifer and Michael is truly best friends. Whenever either one need anything, the other one are always there with an encouraging word and a smile. It is rare when someone finds a lifelong friend who are willing to stick around for whatever life brings. Because of this, both realizes that they is fortunate enough to have a genuine, true blue friend. Obviously, when I read that, it sounds quite ridiculous. But if you take a minute and just think about, maybe not you, but other people in your life, other people around you, sometimes we say things like, they is going, right? And that's not grammatically correct because they is a plural pronoun and is a singular verb. So you want to just make sure that we are understanding why this is important. Not only because it does elevate the quality of your writing, making sure that what you write is grammatically correct, but also it really just makes you seem well-informed, intelligent, and academic in terms of not just your writing, but your speaking as well. So the thing to keep in mind in general is that singular subjects do not have an S on the end, obviously, right? Boy, woman, man, shoe. There's no S on the end, indicating that there's only one thing. However, a singular verb does have an S on the end, right? So the boy runs down the hill. The woman runs up the street. The shoe is missing. Now, on the other hand of that, plural subjects do have verbs on the end. Most of the time, of course, sometimes that plural subject is implied with the, or the S is implied. For example, fish. If you're talking about a group of fish, you don't say fishes because that's not a word, but instead you would say fish steal. And the same thing for foot and feet. No, there's no S on the end, but we know that feet is plural. So the thing about it is a plural verb does not have an S on the end. The boys are running up the street. The shoes are missing. right? So you want to make sure that when we talk about subjects and verbs, we understand what we're looking at and how we are going to make sure that they agree in number, right? Making sure that if the verb is singular, the subject is singular, the verb is plural, the subject is plural as well. So this gets tricky sometimes when we're looking at complex sentences. I realize that in this example, I've just given you pretty much straightforward ideas. But if we look at, for example, let me see. Okay, ignore all this extra clicking. All right, so if we look at, for example, this passage, right, or this example. If we look at number 1, it says, there is or are a pebble and some sand in my shoe. Okay, we would naturally probably all say, that's easy, there is a pebble and some sand in my shoe. Well, it seems right because that's how we are prone to speak, but if we really look at what this sentence is constructed of, then it will seem that is actually not correct. So the subject of this sentence is pebble and sand, right? Pebble and sand. Those are two things, and because it's two things, it's plural. And we just talked about how a plural verb does not have an S on the end. So the correct way that this sentence should be written is, there are a pebble and some sand in my shoe. And I know you're probably thinking, that does not sound right. Keep in mind, we cannot govern ourselves by what sounds right to how we speak or how we are conditioned to hearing other people speak. Now, the reason why it doesn't sound correct is because we're looking at that word there. There is an adverb in this sentence, right? It's telling you where something is. So we can't be distracted by the use of words like here and there because they're not the subject of the sentence. The subject is pebble and sand. If we were to remix that, you might say a pebble and some sand are in my shoe. And then you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. Let's look at one more, right? Number 2 on this sheet says a list of Dalton State College course offerings is or are on the college website. So, of course, you might be inclined to choose are, because we're looking at the word offerings. However, the subject of that sentence is list. List is what the sentence is about. A list is one thing, although there are many items on the list, it's still just one thing. And of Dalton State College course offerings, that's all a prepositional phrase, and the subject of a sentence will never be in a prepositional phrase. So then we should choose a list is posted on the website. Okay? So I just wanted to give you kind of a heads up a little bit about what this week's grammar lesson does entail. If you have any questions about any of it, then please do let me know. There are there's the PowerPoint that you can work through. Also, there is some rules, that I've posted. And I do encourage you, I don't know if you are, and I do hope that you will, if you have not been, to complete some of those practice exercises. I realize that some of you like to work quickly. You're approaching the course as a list of things to do each week, and so you are just going right in and taking the grammar quiz, for example. But give yourself your best shot, okay? At least work through a couple of those practices that I linked to Grammar Bites or chompchomp.com just to make sure that you're prepared for the content of the quiz. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. And if not, I will just, I won't see you later, but you'll see me later. Have a good week.